Ladies and gentlemen, great news. We are back with another DVD haul. What do we have? Most of them are tragedy films, I will admit. Alright, so lately I've been interested in dark comedy films, which is obvious, and 80s films. But other than that, I thought it's time that I watch tragedy movies. You know, movies that are like really dark and, kind of like William Shakespeare's tragedy films, only they're not really based on William Shakespeare's tragedy films or plays. I've got a few. Some of these you might recognize from past hauls, some of these you might be new with. For instance, this one I thought was the 1980s film of the same name, April Fool's Day, but as you can see, it is not the 80s film. I actually read the date, and it's 2008. No rhyme intended. But there was an 80s film of the same name, and it stars Back to the Future actor Thomas F. Wilson. I saw it on WatchMojo.com's top 10 list of the top 10 movies that don't die, the 80s film of the same name, that is. So I rented this from the library's website, and I guess they got some mixed up. But I just saw it just now, and I actually thought it was really, really good, this 2008 direct-to-video film, this teen flick. Really good, but a tragic ending, I will admit. Unexpected, but worth it. And of course, this is a tragic ending movie, Less Than Zero, one of my all-time favorite movies of the 1980s. Robert Downey Jr., need I remind you, Robert Downey Jr., this was one of his biggest breaks. You see that man there sitting in the white jacket? That is Robert Downey Jr. As you can see, his name's on the top as well, as you can see right there. Robert Downey Jr., last name on the case. It also stars James Spader, and a couple of other actors that would later perform in Breaking Bad. So how about that? Then we have perhaps my all-time favorite tragedy film. It is a really, really dark story, but it's actually a very terrific story, and that movie is Road to Perdition, Tom Hanks. Absolutely a worth watching film. It is very depressing, but the acting is just fabulous. And it also stars Paul Newman, Daniel Craig, and Jude Law. What more could you get? What more could you ask for? And Paul Newman, for those that don't know, was also in the movie Cars. He was the voice of Doc Hudson. So that's how I first heard of Paul Newman. In fact, Paul Newman was one of my first favorite actors when I was a kid growing up. So I would say, if you're interested in an action dark film night, Road to Perdition is your go-to. It also challenges the relationship between father and son. So if you want to see films like that, you might want to see that. Also, I've got a relatively recent one. Rogue One is a great one. Rogue One, I thought it was great. A lot of people have debated over it, of course. My uncle, who's a diehard Star Wars fan, he saw it, he was like, I'm not sure about it, to be honest, is what he said to me. I'm like, okay. But, as time went by, he still hasn't really changed his thoughts about it, but I really like Rogue One, not because of the tragic ending, but because of the plot, how it connects parts. What was going on between Episode 4, the original film. And then we have one of the latest horror films to hit the screen, and that is Wish Upon. Wish Upon, which stars Joey King from Ramona and Beezus, which she starred alongside Selena Gomez. Now, this is something that I find a little bit disappointing. A lot of DVDs will tell you what special features are. And if you look here at the back here, it says here at Special Features, you'll notice that there's hardly any special features. And that was a bit of a disappointment, but at least I still have the movie to watch, to enjoy and learn, and as my father always says, we'll go from there. So that's it for now. Stay tuned for part 2. Mr. Blue's here for you. Catch you later.